Hey folks, so this is a topic that I've always felt like I should be the last person on the planet to talk about, let alone make a video about. And that is because I've always felt like the queen of performance anxiety. I mean, I have so many memories of past performances that not only did not go as well as I was hoping they would, but I have some moments where I felt like things crashed and burned and were downright disastrous. Now, if any of you can relate to it and have stories of your own, and you're wondering if there will ever be a day when it just all goes away, if there will be one day where you just suddenly have enough experience on stage to not ever have to worry about that again, you're in for a rude awakening, because the way we perceive performance anxiety, nerves, all that stuff, the way we perceive it is what changes the experience more than anything. So what do I mean by this? A lot of times, just for the general person, when they hear somebody tell them they're nervous about something, about a performance, or they have to give a speech or something, it's very common for that to be perceived as something negative. And the truth is that it is also thanks to nerves that I was able to give exceptionally good performances. It's a very natural thing to happen. It's your body's ability to prepare you for the moment when it matters. The way you respond to it, and also the more you get to know yourself better over time, that's what really kind of improves the results in terms of statistically and just overall ability to perform with a more, like, to feel like you can express music the way you want to. And also it just gives you more information about how to prepare differently the next time. So I want to dive in this video much deeper than what the average teacher will tell their students when it comes to dealing with nerves on stage. So this is something that I feel that it is still relatively new in the music world, although it has been improving a whole lot. And I can say this with experience because I think through all of my struggles, and I still continue to struggle from time to time now, I think I have enough evidence that I made a lot of improvements through the recent knowledge that became available to me that I did not have available to me back when I was, like, let's say, doing my bachelor's degree. I am not here to give you the very popular cliche suggestions that I'm sure are given everywhere. Nothing wrong with them. You know, cliche suggestions like, oh, you just need to perform more. Yes, however, perform more how? If you just go on and do the exact same thing without changing a variable in how you prepare, or what you do before, or what you do, like, you know, all the little things that can change the experience. If you're not taking notes, for example, from one performance to another, if you're just doing things again and again without thinking about what you're doing, it's very difficult to improve the performance experience, okay? So just performing more alone is absolutely not enough information. The other common thing that teachers tell their students, and again, nothing wrong with it, oh, you are just nervous because you care. Oh yeah, because that's really helpful. Even though I still get nervous for solo performance, I know that I am improving at handling myself under pressure, and maybe it takes me a little longer than some other folks, but I believe that there has been enough useful evidence and information to take note of that I can share with you folks who deal with this too. And I'm going to tell you that it is something we learn to manage. Absolutely, the biggest mistake is to try to make it go away, because that's actually going to do the opposite. It's going to make it come back even stronger. Resistance only makes stronger. It's a famous saying for a reason. So long story short, when I finished my postgraduate studies, I became a little bit obsessed with sports psychology. I have no sports background. Go figure. Now, there are two very well-known names in the classical music world when it comes to sports psychology, Don Green and Noah Kageyama. And I've learned a great deal from both of them. In fact, I've taken a couple of Noah Kageyama's online courses, and I still read his free newsletter. If you go to bulletproofmusician.com, you're gonna see so much valuable information. And I read a couple of Don Green's books, including his latest book of the time I am filming this video, Train Your Own Hero. Fantastic book. In addition to these two names, I want to go outside of the music circle. I want to share with you 3 books that have been absolutely life-changing, and I'll share them with you in the order that I have read them in this past decade. And of course, my book list is quite big, but these are the 3 that I picked out that I want to share with you, and I'll even share a couple little quotes from them. So the first one is The New Toughness Training for Sports. I'll link all of these below too, by the way. I mentioned this one in the past, Do Hard Things by Steve Magnus. By the way, if you are familiar with the growth equation, they have a podcast called Excellence Actually. Go have a listen. The third one is the latest, Inner Excellence by Jim Murphy, and it is so good that I still haven't finished it because there's so much gold in each and every page here. You see all these tabs here, and I wrote a lot inside here. So let's just go into the most important things, how to handle nerves better on stage. Number 1, and it's the absolutely most important one, and it's your level of preparation. And level of preparation does not mean practicing 8 hours a day, all that nonsense. It's just, you know, the way we practice. Yes, we have to practice a lot, but we have to be smart about what we do, when we do it, how we do it. For example, the way, like, let's say you have a recital in 2 months, or you have an audition in 6 weeks. The way you spend those first 2 weeks should not be the way you spend the last 2 weeks. It's a different kind of practice. So for example, early on, I would recommend, you know, double down on, you know, learning notes, learn fundamentals, a lot of listening, all the basics. The earlier you do it, the better, because then you build up on it. Okay, pacing is really, really important, because the stages leading up to a performance, we don't want to end up, for example, waiting until it's too late to realize, oh no, I should have done that fingering here. And, you know, don't change your fingering the day before a concert. That's not the best thing to do. It might not end well. Early on in the preparation, that's when I would double down and focus on personal weaknesses. You know, let's say, for example, I want to work on my vibrato, or how to play in the lower half of the bow better, you know, very basic kind of fundamental things. Early on in the preparation, double down on all of that stuff. As you get closer to a performance, you have to switch your mindset and focus on things that are really working for you, okay? Actually, this I'm gonna take a quote from Steve Magnus's book, Do Hard Things. I want to talk about, this is actually, he mentions this in better words than what I just said. So there are two spots here. I'm gonna read straight out of the book, okay? This is page 78. The concept of raising the floor, okay? And that is because, you know, realistically, when we get on stage, you know, people say, do your best. Are we going to do our best? You're probably going to play your average. You're not, probably not, very rarely are you going to play your absolute worst or your absolute best. That is extremely rare. Most likely will be somewhere in the middle there. So, but raising the floor means to work on your fundamentals to the point that you're increasing your average. Your average is what gets better over the long haul. So, here it talks about, it's not that we are lowering our ceiling. So we're not lowering our standards. We're not playing it safe. It's that we've developed the confidence to know that X performance is repeatable, that as long as we do what's in our control, we can achieve a certain standard no matter the circumstance. So this concept of raising the floor. For the folks who have been watching my channel, you know that I covered fundamentals of violin playing so much. 90% of people, you know, they'll get to an advanced playing level and they're gonna think they're too cool to focus on the basics, okay? They'll just skip scales, skip long tone practice, and just go ahead and, hey, I'm just gonna play my IZOF sonata right off the bat. And that's unfortunate because those fundamentals, that's like what, if that crumbles over time, and I know that not a single person watching this is getting any younger. The second thing I want to share from this book, the mindset leading up to a performance. Like I said earlier, early on in the preparation is a great time to really work on your shortcomings, your weaknesses. But when it gets right down to it, when your performance is around the corner, the closer you are to a performance, the more you want to prime with what you're good at. Reviewing mistakes, working on weaknesses. It's going to backfire when you're, in this case, when you're on stage. So this is important, that as you get closer to performance, you start imagining yourself doing the way you want to do it. You want to imagine it going well, over and over. And this is another kind of practice. You can start this even earlier in the process, in smaller doses. It's definitely not something that you want to just slap on top of all your preparation at the very last moment. It's something that also needs repetition, and not just from one day to another, but also from one project to another, from one recital to another, from one audition to another. This is something that you build over a long period of time. The next thing is that it's really important that you don't try to block nerves, and you have to accept that it's part of you. Accept that you might get nervous, you might not. You have to just allow it to happen or not happen. Okay, just allow things to naturally unfold the way they should. That is because, like I said earlier, first of all, resistance makes stronger, and the second of all is that as you become familiar with it, it becomes similar to having a thought that kind of passes by. And this is where meditation can become a very useful tool, almost like a metaphor in preparing you for the stage. Because if you try to fight nerves, or if you get nervous about being nervous, which I'm very familiar with, and I'm sure many of you are as well, then it spirals, right? But if you learn how to separate yourself and just become a neutral observer, which is practiced in a lot of Zen meditation, then that can actually help you a lot when it matters. Again, takes practice, just like your scales. Another thing you can do, kind of like for training your mind, you can try to do something that's even scarier, like public speaking. I guess that's also getting on stage. In my case, performance means playing music through my instrument as opposed to speaking the way I am doing right now to the camera. Speaking to the audience, actually, speaking of public speaking, speaking to your audience during a recital can be extremely helpful. For me, that was actually super awesome because you can pick up on your audience's energy, and most of the time it's a great energy, and it actually helps you to play better and makes the experience more memorable and more exciting. Next, it's really important to do an insane amount of mental preparation. So in the early stages, mental preparation happens in all the stages, from the early stages, not just at the very end, okay? So early on, like let's say I'm learning the notes to the repertoire, I'm learning a difficult passage, being able to visualize how I'm about to play it, like in the practice room, going back and forth between mental repetition, physical repetition. I've made a video about this in the past. So you want to imagine the piece in details. Imagine the bow directions. Imagine how it sounds. Put it together in your mind and then repeat it on your instrument. Being able to do that in the early stages. Then later, as you get closer to a performance, you want to start visualizing performance day. Where are you performing? Have you been there before? If not, can you get a photo of the venue? to get an idea, so you can imagine yourself being there, and you can imagine yourself either from first person point of view, like through your own eyes, or you can imagine that you're in the audience watching yourself on that stage. Also, and Don Green talks about this, Noah Kageyama talks about this, centering exercises, breathing exercises, making that as part of your routine when you start practicing. Just a few minutes a day, just to, or even 3 times a day, spread out, just to become familiar with that. Also, starting the music in your head before the performance starts. You want to imagine what you're gonna do when you get on stage right before you start playing. You have to have a plan for that, the pre-performance routine. Also, next is to have a plan for the backstage. Have a backstage plan. This is not something that's going to be completely set in stone, because there are certain things that are going to be happening backstage that can't really control. There'll be other people, it might be noisy, or maybe you're lucky, maybe you have an artist room and it's nice and quiet, but you have to have a plan. What do you need? Do you need snacks? Do you need water? Do you need coffee? I do like coffee before getting on stage. What really helps me is to do some light physical exercises to get the blood flowing. That really helps to focus when it matters. After I actually, right before I get on stage, or right before getting on stage, I do a couple squats just to make sure I'm energized enough, because to me personally it's more important to be energized and to make sure I stay focused during the performance than I'm more concerned that that's going to happen, because there's one thing that's worse than being nervous, and that is to lose concentration or to just be disengaged. Okay, I think being disengaged is the worst thing you can do as a performer. It's important to try your best to be a part of the music, okay? Because why are we doing this? Why are we performing? Think about that. And I think that's much more powerful. It gives a much more memorable experience for everybody. Next, I just want to really quick discuss activation versus relaxation regarding energy levels. So this is something I learned from Noah Kageyama, and I believe I also learned this in this book. They call it something different in here. It's essentially the individual zone of optimal functioning. So each individual performs their best at various levels of energy. So for example, for one person, they'll perform really well when they're calm, when they are more relaxed. And for somebody else, maybe they need to be like really, really energized to do well. And if they're too relaxed, then it doesn't go so well for them. So if you Google IZOF, IZOF, it's short for individual zone of optimal functioning. You're going to see a bell curve map, in which case the top of the bell curve is whatever energy levels you need in order to play at your best. And then when you go too far to either side, the performance starts to suffer or not be quite as good as it could be. So one thing, how do we find which one works best for us? This is where experience can be really helpful. This is where, hey, let's perform more is helpful. When you know about this, when you pay attention to this is where you can get some valuable information about yourself. Okay, so I promised I was going to share a couple more things from these. So the main thing from this one, there are so many, again, I have all these tabs from when I read it. I just want to say one thing that really stood out for me. The line between emotions and muscles run both ways. And this goes direct with what I just talked about in terms of learning to control your energy levels. If you feel like you're too activated and you feel like you need to calm down, you can practice centering. You can practice certain exercises that help the muscles relax. Or quite the opposite, if you need to be more activated, if you feel sleepy, if you didn't get enough sleep last night, there are certain things you can do with your body that will help to stimulate, and that will in turn make a connection between your mind and how your body feels. I also don't like to separate mind and body because they are not two separate things. They're also not one thing. It's like it is and it isn't. You know what I mean? And finally, an inner excellence. And this is the one that's I probably spent the longest time on because there's way too many good things in here and I could spend forever just on any one thing in here. I'm just going to share one small thing. And this goes beyond music performance. This goes into something far, far more serious, and it has to do with self-identity. And this becomes an even longer journey. It's like far outside of music. And this connects to everything we do in our lives. And it deals with limiting self-beliefs. And this is something that everybody deals with from time to time. So I'm just going to read this one short, well, it's part of a paragraph. I'm not going to read the whole thing. And something for you guys to think about, okay? Beliefs set the boundaries for what's possible in your life. They also attract situations that try to keep those beliefs intact. This is called homeostasis. It's the effort of the subconscious mind to maintain a certain level of skill or achievement, whatever the individual believes is right for him or her. For example, if you're performing, okay, listen to this. If you're performing above what you believe you're capable of doing, as in above what your subconscious mind believes you're capable of doing, then your subconscious will try to bring the performance down to your comfort level. And this works also the other way around. If you're performing below what you believe you can do, then your subconscious will work to bring the results back up to match your comfort level. So this opens an entire new thing to explore for all of us, I believe, regarding self-identity and how that plays in your life as a performer. Share with me your thoughts and experiences down in the comment section below, and I hope this video was helpful for you. Now, I'm happy to continue this discussion much deeper and further in my Patreon community, where we put a lot of these ideas into real practice. I make some videos where I show you how I practice some of the things I discuss here on YouTube. If you'd like to check out the community, I'll link it down in the description below. I hope to see you there, get to know you better. Until next time, happy practicing.